Cameron with Home2K9. This video is about muzzle conditioning and presenting a muzzle to your dog as something that they don't need to be worried about, that they don't need to feel stressed when they're wearing, and how to go about that process with some basic food conditioning. So it would be certainly an option just to strap this on the dog, buckle it up, and off we go to the vet for a dog who's nervous and stressed there. But the association then is going to become one that may be potentially very negative, and the next time you go to put this on, you're going to experience some resistance, potentially something much more significant than just a dog that wants to run away and avoid the engagement. So best case scenario, when you're presenting something like this, you're making it positive and voluntary. You want the dog to see this and want to put their nose, yes, good girl, want to put their nose in the muzzle and feel okay about wearing it. That way, in the context that they're requiring it, you're not adding another layer of stress, because if your dog already is aggressive, fearful, they're potentially exhibiting a bite behavior because of those underlying conditions, the last thing we want to do is add another layer to that if we can help it, right? And there's definitely going to be exceptions to the rule. But this is definitely a video that is focused on helping you to prepare your dog and to have them be muzzle conditioned in the event that they need to wear one, so that it doesn't add stress and frustration to the dog and it doesn't create a worse situation out of potentially a dynamic that's already a pretty big challenge. So I like to use food for this. There are a few different examples of muzzles that you might end up working with. For today's demo video, this is a Baskerville muzzle. It's a size 4 muzzle. Baskervilles are really nice because dogs can eat and drink and pant in this muzzle, okay? So this is gonna be the most common one that we would use here generally, and it does still permit for a finger to potentially be injured or bit, see, where you can get your fingers through. There are going to be other muzzle models out there that would be more secure and more coverage on a dog who would potentially have a human aggression issue and bite your finger. So for this purpose, with this dog, it has to do with her dog-to-dog socialization that we're utilizing a muzzle, and we want to condition her to wear this muzzle so she can be socialized with other dogs, and so that we can address some behavior issues that are present around other dogs. So the Baskerville muzzle is sufficient. I don't need to worry about human aggression issues in this context and about potentially having fingers bitten. I'm more concerned about preventing a significant injury to another dog, dog bite, something like that, okay? So I like to use food for this purpose, and the Baskerville muzzle, because the holes are so large, can be a little challenging. A really great way to get started with this, particularly if you have a dog who's fearful of the muzzle and who doesn't want anything to do with it, would be to put a piece of that American cheese, right? That square, soft stuff. Put that American cheese right on the inside there and kind of pack it down. And then you can be putting the dog's kibble on top of that and it won't fall through the holes in the bottom. I'm pretty proficient and comfortable with offering food from below in this context, so that's what I'm doing today. But imagine that we have some cheese or something spread in the bottom there, some lunch meat, and we're putting the kibble down on top of that. That makes it a little easier for most people, and the cheese is definitely more enticing to a lot of the dogs. So you want to have a dog who's got hunger drive here, who's motivated and interested in doing this. This could be something that you're doing with your dog who is really pretty happy-go-lucky and laid back and not really concerned about anything, and they'll take food at any time, great. If you have a dog who's really nervous and insecure and you're trying to muzzle condition them or re-associate them to something like this that they've been nervous about, you want to build that hunger drive and you want them to only be eating in this context through this exercise. So they're very motivated to turn into it and to connect with you about it, okay? So I'm going to offer her the muzzle with the food in the bottom, good, and let her take the food through the bottom, muzzle, good. Now I've done this exercise with her a few times, so I'm naming it already. If this was a dog that had not had any experience or exposure to this and you're just trying to get started, muzzle, then you wouldn't necessarily name, yes, you wouldn't necessarily name the command just yet. It would be lots of repetition conditioning this behavior. Muzzle, good, good. And I'm gonna work sparingly with your muzzle. Yes, good girl. Sparingly here so that she's really earning these kibbles. She's not getting a whole bunch of them at once. She's getting a couple. Good. Muzzle. Yes, good. And after you've done a lot of repetitions where you've simply lured the dog and enticed the dog to place their face in the muzzle, then you're naming and you're asking for the dog to do it all voluntarily. So I'm at the point right now, after many repetitions of food through the bottom and luring the dog in, where I can ask her to put her face in, muzzle, yes, and mark with my voice, yes, and reward with the food. Okay, good girl, good. Muzzle, yes, good girl. After many repetitions at this stage, I'm going to start asking her to keep her head in the muzzle for longer and longer. Muzzle. Muzzle. Yes. So I'm going to give her a couple more reps. Yes. Oh, you got a freebie. Muzzle. Yes. Good. Yes. So I hold it, right, for a couple extra seconds, and I ask her to spend a little more time. Muzzle. She's very food driven. Let her think, let her process. Muzzle. Bring it back and I'll present it. Muzzle. Yes. Good. Muzzle. Yes. Yes. Good girl, yes. So I'm asking her to hold a little longer, right? To keep her head in there without payment. Muzzle. Yes. Good. Good girl. Let's do it again. Muzzle. Yes. Good. I'll speed up the delivery of my treat because I asked her to wait too long before. She wasn't quite ready for that. Muzzle. Muzzle. A very smart girl, but I have to get out of her way sometimes and let her think a while, right? And let her process. I'm going to pull this back and present it again. Yes. Good. Muzzle. Yes. Good girl. Still a little bit of confusion here, right? She's not 100% reliable every time that she goes back into that muzzle right away. So I'm going to keep it simple here and take more reps. Muzzle. Yes. And faster reward. Okay? More reps with a faster reward. Not ready for me to draw that off yet. Muzzle. Yes. Good girl. Very good. Battle muzzle. Yes. Yes. Good. So this is the general idea, guys. The next stage is going to be involving the buckles. Muzzle. Yes. Buckling, touching the head, right? And then taking it off. Good girl. Pulling it away. Muzzle. Yes. Good. Messing with the ear, the buckle, the concept of the strap. Putting it together. Good girl. Yes. Okay. And then taking it off again. It's a long, slow process for a lot of dogs. She's moving pretty quickly. Yes. Yes. Good. Very good. A little backwards there, my markers. Good. Little buckle. Good. Okay. Good. Very nice. So after we've gotten, quite a few reps here and we have a successful positive association, I'd probably end this exercise and come back the next day and repeat. If she does a really nice job of picking up where we left off and giving me this great response with several early repetitions, I'll start to build in that I want to put the muzzle straight on. Yes, good girl, good, yes. And buckle and give her some food through the muzzle and then remove and start again. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Go ahead and take that off. Good. You dropped one. Muzzle. Yes. Good. Good. Yes. Okay. It's hard to get to it, isn't it? So this is how I can create a conditioned positive association around something that might feel otherwise good, a little overwhelming to the dog, right? And definitely a little confusing, especially if they're already stressed. But if you've spent time and you've actively taught this as a command and as a game and something that you engage on around food, you're going to get a very different result in the dog's feelings about this tool, okay? And that is definitely the best case scenario, rather than putting it on and moving forward without having shifted that emotional perspective from the dog. So hopefully this is helpful for you in muzzle conditioning. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll be back more with great videos soon. Bye, guys. Good girl. You did a good job.